Well, hello, and what's up? It's Pabz. Oh, I've lost my voice. Well, hello, and welcome to the Below the Rim YouTube channel. In case you didn't know by the hat, it's all about the BBL. Gold ball in the background's a bit of a giveaway as well. Subscribe, like, whatever you want to do, Below the Rim. Follow us on Twitter at Below the Pod, and go on our Discord channel as well. You can join that and have your say, have a chat, talk basketball. But what we're going to do now, we're going to do a series of these as well. We're going to take them a team at a time because everybody loved The Last Dance, right? I say everybody, not everybody in our group chat liked The Last Dance, but a lot of them weren't around for the 90s and okay, so 90% of people, in fact more than that probably, from people that I've spoken to, loved The Last Dance. And what's it all about? It's about the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Horace Grant, all those guys from the 90s. But most importantly, it's about three-peats. Three-peats in the playoffs is what it's all about. It's about 2 three-peats, in fact. And in terms of NBA, everybody kind of knows Minneapolis Lakers did it, Boston Celtics did it multiple times, like 8 in a row, something crazy like that. The Lakers have done it, the Bulls have done it, and teams strive for that three-peat. But what about this little league here? Huh? What about that one? So what we're going to do is we're going to go through teams that have done the three-peat. BBL Playoffs only to start with, because there's also something in our league that is known as, well, it's known as a few things. It's known as a Grand Slam, or it's known as a sweep of all the trophies. That's league, cup, trophy, and playoffs. There's only a few teams that have done that, all 4, and there's certainly only a couple of teams to my mind that have three-peated on multiple things in repeated seasons. And one of those teams is one of the teams we're going to talk about now. Before we get onto it, we'll play the video on it, and yeah, you can enjoy it, like it, comment on it, whatever you want to do. We'll start, in, like I said, with the Kingston Kings, and they are the first team to three-peat in BBL history. There's been more since, obviously. We'll go through those. So we're going to go back to the 89-90 season, and then go 1990-91 season, 1991-92 season, for the BBL's first dynasty. The Kingston Kings, the first team in the BBL to three-peat. Some would argue four-peat, like we've mentioned, because of the Glasgow link. But as Kingston Kings, three-peat was the first seen in the BBL. So 1989-1990 is the first season, and let's see how they got there. So they finished top of the league, 25 wins, 3 losses. The closest team to them were the Manchester Giants with a 21-7 record, and then the Sunderland 76ers with a 20-8 record. They tied with the Bracknell Tigers, who also finished 20-8. So that kind of second to fourth spot was very tightly fought. Most valuable player that season was Clyde Vaughan. He finished with 27.8 points per game, 8.9 rebounds per game, 1.4 assists, and he shot the 3-ball at 41.2%. Coach of the year was Kevin Cadle, and who can argue with the 25-3 record. The team of the season didn't feature too many Kingston players. In fact, Alton Byrd was the only one. Chris Kearney from Manchester Giants, Dale Roberts from Bracknell Tigers, Russ Saunders from the Sunderland 76ers, Peter Scantlebury from the Tigers, Kenny Scott from the Rams, Tom Seaman from the Bracknell Tigers, Mike Spade from the Solent Stars, Clyde Vaughan from Sunderland 76ers, and Scott Wilkie from the Sunderland 76ers also. So more Sunderland players there than anything else. But the playoffs went straight to the semi-finals. There were only 8 teams in the league, so to do a quarter-final didn't make a lot of sense. So they went straight to the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham on the 13th of April 1990. The first semi-final was Kingston Kings against the Bracknell Tigers. It finished 83-72 in favour of the Kings. The second semi-final, Manchester Giants faced the Sunderland 76ers, and the 76ers took it in overtime, 111-106. There was also a third place playoff, which I don't remember from previous BBL seasons, but it may have happened. Manchester Giants outright winners, 110-103 over the Bracknell Tigers, which led to the final, Kingston Kings versus Sunderland Saints. A real battle, a close fought match. finished 87-82 in favour of the Kings. Alan Cunningham with a finals MVP, 20 points. Martin Clarke with 15 points. Mika Blunt with 12 points. And Richard Scanterbury with 10. Big scorers for the 76ers were Russ Saunders with 23 and Clyde Vaughan with 21 points. And that was the first title for the Kingston Kings. So we move on to the repeat 1990-1991 season. Kingston would again finish top of the league with a very impressive 23-1 record, beating the next team to them, Sunderland Saints. This time same team, different name. 18-6 record for them. Thames Valley Tigers and Leicester Riders with a 14-10 record would make up the 4 spots at the top. Most valuable player that season was Byrd from Kingston Kings. 11.1 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, 9 assists per game and 2.2 steals per game. Coach of the year, again, Kevin Cadle, and once again, you cannot argue with the 23-1 record. The team of the season then would consist of Steve Bucknell from the Sunderland Saints, Byrd from Kingston Kings, Martin Clarke and Alan Cunningham also from the Kingston Kings, Chris Kearney from Manchester Giants, Ernest Lee from the Derby Rams, Dan Meager from the Leicester City Riders, Dale Roberts from Thames Valley Tigers, Russ Saunders and Clyde Vaughan from the Sunderland Saints. So once again, high representation from the Saints, and the Kingston Kings having a few more players in there, and rightly so. So the playoffs would start with the quarter-finals. Kingston would face Hemel Royals in a best-of-3 series. Kingston would take both games convincingly, winning the series 2-0. Sunderland Saints would face the Worthing Bears, and they would take that series 2-0. Also, Thames Valley Tigers would face the Manchester Giants, so that would go to a deciding game, which the Thames Valley Tigers would win 84-82, taking the series 2-1. Leicester City Riders versus the Derby Rams. Leicester would take the series 2-0. Which would lead to the semi-finals. Once again, the NEC in Birmingham was the venue. Kingston Kings would face up against the Leicester City Riders in the first game, beating them 85-62 in a convincing win. Sunderland Saints would beat the Thames Valley Tigers in a slightly closer game, 99-89. To set up the final, Kingston Kings again against the Sunderland Saints. Not as tight as the previous season. Kingston took it 94-72. Byrd would be the MVP with 22 points in the game. Alan Cunningham would finish with 22 points and Martin Clarke with 17. For the Saints, Russ Saunders had 19 points, Scott Pearson had 18, Steve Bucknell would finish with 15 points, and there was the repeat completed. So the Kingston Kings now were seeking the three-peat, and they could potentially be the first team in the BBL to achieve it. So 1991-92 would be the season. Carlsberg British Basketball League. Kingston would again finish top, although it would be a lot closer this season. 30 games played, 11 teams in the league. Kingston would finish with a record of 27-3, followed closely by Thames Valley, who would have a 25-5 record. Worthing Bears featured in the top 3 for the first time since coming into the BBL with a 22-8 record, and the London Towers would take the 4th spot with a 21-9 record. Most valuable player this season was back-to-back honours for Byrd, Kingston Kings. He finished with 11.2 points per game, 1.8 rebounds per game, 7.2 assists per game and 2.2 steals per game. And once again, Coach of the Year would be Kevin Cadle. The team of the season would feature Carl Brown from Leicester City Riders, Byrd once again from Kingston Kings, Alan Cunningham from Kingston Kings, Brian Heron from the Worthing Bears, Larry Corretz from the Birmingham Bullets, Nigel Lloyd from Thames Valley Tigers, Mike Obaseki and David Peed also from Thames Valley Tigers, Russ Saunders now with the Kingston Kings, and Peter Scantlebury from the London Towers. The playoffs would once again start in the quarterfinals and would be a best-of-3 affair. Kingston would steamroll the Birmingham Bullets, taking the series 2-0. Thames Valley would also take their series 2-0 over the Hemel Royals. Worthing Bears would also take their series 2-0 over the Leicester Riders. And the London Towers would take their series 2-0 over the Derby Bucks, which would set up the semi-finals. Kingston Kings would face the London Towers at Wembley Arena this time. They took it 87-82 in a tight-fought affair. Thames Valley Tigers would get a slightly more convincing win over the Worthing Bears, 84-74, which would set up the final. Kingston Kings versus Thames Valley Tigers on the 3rd of May 1992. And Kingston would win it emphatically, 84-67, Russ Saunders with 16 points, picking up the MVP for Kingston. Alan Cunningham with 13 points. Carl Miller with 12. Alton Byrd also with 12. And Martin Henlan with 12 points as well. For Thames Valley, Nigel Lloyd would pour in an impressive 30 points. David Peed adding 11. But in front of 7,000 people at the Wembley Arena, the Kingston Kings would make it 3 playoff championships in a row, completing the very first three-peat in BBL history.
Big 3, and that is salt in the wound. 84 to Kingston, 67 to the Thames Valley Tigers. And a lot of credit to the losers here, but a great deal of credit to Kingston, who take the clean sweep for the season. 3 National League championships in a row, and this is their 5th win in the playoffs. Good, solid rebounding machine. They won that battle. They had Alton Byrd, they had Russ Saunders on top of that. They had Alan Cunningham, who played the swing player. And all together, that added up to a formula that could not be beaten on this day.
Whew, hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. I certainly enjoyed looking up the stats. Shout out to Dan Routledge as well, because there's a couple of playoff MVPs missing from the stats, from the history, from the historical whatever. There's no publications. Wikipedia, to be honest. But there you go. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, and look out for the next one, which of course is going to be one of my personal favourites, the Worthing Bears. And there's been a few since then, so look out for more of these. Alright, take it easy. We'll speak to you soon.